Hi, everyone, and welcome back to today's Hope a Thing, a podcast. I am your host today. My name is Alyssa Atkins, and I am the Training and Development Coordinator for the Native Learning Center. With me today is Crystal Cedino, the Training and Development Manager for the Native Learning Center as well. And today we are going to discuss the Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country. Our special guest to lead this conversation today is going to be Carla Knapp, the National Vice President of Native Services for BGCA, which is the Boys and Girls Club of America, and Jackie Van Huss, Director of Strategic Growth for Native Services of Boys and Girls Club of America. Carla, would you like to go ahead and tell us about yourself and introduce yourself to our viewers?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for inviting us to the podcast today. We're so excited to talk about Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country. So my name is Carla Knapp and serve as the National Vice President, as you mentioned, at Boys and Girls Club of America for Native Services. But I want to introduce myself. I'm also a proud tribal member of the Penobscot Indian Nation. So that's how I'd like to introduce myself. But going back to Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country, we're going to really dig into it shortly, but the first Native Club was established in 1992. But Native Services was established in 2013, and that's where my journey began with the national organization, recognizing the need for culturally relevant but culturally competent services as well. And so that is when Native Services was established, and you'll hear more later about our commitment to our tribal nations, where we have so much respect for their sovereignty, and we share a like-minded mission of youth first. So thank you for inviting us today.
Of course, thank you for being here today. Jackie, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself for our viewers as well?
Sure. Like Carla stated, Manahui Bosaos Inum Jackie Van Huss. I am the Director of Strategic Growth, like you stated, for Native Services, Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And I, too, am a proud enrolled tribal citizen of my tribe, the North Fork Rancheria of Mono Indians of California. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of working with tribes, tribal governments, tribal entities that desire to charter a Native Boys and Girls Club in Indian Country. So I'm very proud of that role. My past experience, I'm a former tribal council member elected to my tribe, and also I sat on our Indian Housing Authority's Board of Commissioners. So thank you as well for having both of us today.
Of course.
Such an honor. Thank you, guys. Gals. Thank you, gals. But all right, let's dive into the conversation. So initially, Awista and I reached out to Carla to do a podcast episode, just for our listeners to give them a little bit of a background, to do a podcast episode on IHBG, ICDBG funding within developing Boys and Girls Club, because we heard, through one of the news sources, many news sources that we get information from, that's actually something that's possible. So great opportunity to talk about Boys and Girls Club in Indian Country and how it can, get started, and any other success stories and so on and so forth. So Carla, if you want to go ahead and just hit us right off with that, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, maybe I should start with our history. So you heard me talk about 1992, the first Native Club in Indian Country opening its doors. So you want to know an interesting fact. If it was not for HUD, Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country may not have even been a thought. And so with drug elimination money years ago, that's how clubs in Indian Country were able to start up. So I had shared earlier in previous conversations, I have so much respect for HUD, and their vision of starting Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country. And so last year in 2022, we celebrated 30 years of Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country. That's huge, 30 years. And what I can share is, since like that to me was the catalyst that really launched the thought of having clubs in Indian Country. And today we have nearly 250 Native sites across the nation. And so, with the funds that HUD provides, there have been new clubs built. There has been support for clubs. We're going to dig more into that, but I wanted to start with the history in partnership with HUD and how they were a huge part in our history. So
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, Native Learning Center wouldn't be here today if it weren't for HUD funds. We're funded through IHBG funds. So I completely understand that. And our reach has been astronomical. I want to stay humble, but also we have been able to help a lot of tribes, a lot of just tribal members, the whole gamut. So I have huge respect as well for HUD. So I share that with you, Carla, and completely understand. Yeah. Jackie, you have anything to add on that?
No, I think it's the partnership. What Carla mentioned, it we wouldn't have been a thought. I believe if it wasn't for that, and great respect to HUD for recognizing that there are eligible usages, right? Stated, and like a fact, there is a guidance memo from way back in 2010 that does list Boys and Girls Club as a model activity and an eligible activity. So, sometimes, when we are working with a tribal organization, we do stress that point that, there are other collaborative efforts that you can do with various programs, such as your housing program. So, I think that much respect goes out to HUD for, identifying the great things that Boys and Girls Clubs can offer and do provide to our Native communities.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we know the who, I suppose. I guess now we should get into, the how more or less. So with these funds, how can, our tribes use them and get the process going?
I'm happy to jump right in because what
Yeah.
I did, I just have to pull it up, but I looked at even recent funding because we want to give information that's really valuable right now. So let me just share with you, like when we think of what can happen in 2023. So many of you may already know, and some may not know, that in December 29th, right, of 2022, the Consolidated Appropriation Act was signed into law, making $787 million available for the NAHASDA Indian Block Grant. So this is the largest allocation for this program to date under the IHBG formula program. So you talked about how they could use it, right? So this is for funding towards both the operation of and capital improvements. And that can mean even for their Boys and Girls Club, which to me is amazing.
Yeah.
The final grant awards are going to be announced no later than 60 days from the president's signature. So we're anticipating that tribes will be notified of their awards in late February. And so since the allocation is larger than prior years, we see this as an increase potentially in grant amounts. Therefore, it's time for our clubs to even reach out to their housing authority to see how they can invest in their club. And why I say this is after the tribes receive their funds and they write their plans, Boys and Girls Club is allowable in their plans. And so for me, it is how they can support existing clubs or even help to establish a club for their community. And one thing I shared with Jackie is like the Akwesasne Housing Authority, one of their biggest accomplishments that they list was the creation of their Boys and Girls Club. Their Boys and Girls Club is doing amazing work. And if it wasn't for the Housing Authority believing in that vision of establishing a club, and right now they have 4 different clubs, and that is just one example of the power of how a housing authority can support clubs. There's many more examples. I know Jackie has some she probably wants to share, but I just wanted to share what tribes can do right now with this funding that's coming out. And there's more, but we'll get into that too.
Jackie, anything to add?
No, I think like what Carla was saying with Akwesasne, with their creation of their Boys and Girls Club, what she stated, along with other tribes such as the Bay Mills Indian community, they used an ICDBG funding to help build their brand new Boys and Girls Club facility for their community. So it's just working in anticipation with the Native Boys and Girls Club team that we have. that shares that information with current existing Boys and Girls Clubs if they're desiring to, create a brand new facility, or whether it's with me working with tribes that are establishing a Boys and Girls Club and looking at that funding opportunity that are out there. We're always in the know, like Carla said. She makes sure that our team is in the know. We have the most readily available. When COVID hit, we had the CARES Act, we had ARPA funding. We scrubbed those like Carla did with the Consolidated Appropriations Act new funding. We scrub those and make sure that there is an opportunity. If there's an opportunity, we're going to know about it, and we're going to be sure that we share that out.
Sure. Why don't we talk a little bit about how kind of like the organization's structured so that these clubs get the information, and so that our housing authorities as well get that information so that they know, oh, you know what, we do need this in our community, whether it be kids are getting into trouble, because I know a lot of the time that's what it is. When you have lots of, what do they say, idle hands or is like the devil's work or something like that. So, kids get into stuff. So do you mind sharing a little bit about the structure and how the information could potentially get to, these housing authorities, TDHEs, all of that?
I can start, and then Jackie, if you want to expand on it. But when we talk
Sure.
about the structure of clubs, one is that, maybe I'll start at our commitment. We believe every Native youth and every Native community deserves a Boys and Girls Club. And through that commitment, what we have done in our respect of our sovereign nations is that we we honor the tribe's wish of how they want to structure their club.
Right.
So every tribal nation, their club may be structured different. And then that will depend on how information flows, right? Crystal, what you're trying to really get at is how can we make sure that every club and every tribe knows of this opportunity?
Right.
So through our respect for sovereign nations, some clubs are chartered directly under the tribal government. And so we call it a board chair of the club. It's the tribal leader. So we can share information that way. And then our club leader, we call them CEOs, although they may be the program director within the tribe. But through that structure, they could be chartered under their Department of Education, their Indian Health Services. We even have clubs directly chartered under their housing authority.
Yeah.
So for them, they're actually always in the know. So it's really important, as Jackie mentioned, for us to scrub this information, make sure we share it out, and then talk about like how they can advocate to their housing authority director to be included in their plan. So when we talk about the structure, every tribal nation, their structure fits within their structure. So there isn't one size that fits all. And it's our job to also make sure that they get this information. And we are so honored to be here too, because this is just another vehicle to get this information out to them.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Jackie, did you want to expand on anything that I've shared of, because you're working with chartering tribes, clubs?
Well, I think just to expand a little bit, what Carla said is we meet the tribal governments where they're at. And so what works best for them. So if they desire to charter, like Carla referenced, we have Walker River Paiute out in Shores, Nevada that chartered their Boys and Girls Club of Agai Dakota to Wama Nobi underneath their housing authority, because that works for them. But like Carla said, there's 3 ways to charter. But we make a concerted effort to respect the tribe or the tribal government, where what meets their need, right? What works best. So if they charter directly under their tribal government, great. If they charter under their Indian Housing Authority, great. If they charter under their Indian Health Clinic, because they can, garner that third-party billing, right, to sustain their club. Great. If they have a 501c3, a tribal 501c3, they can charter under that. But what we really do is make a respectful partnership, meet them where they're at, and make sure that, a lot of times, being a former tribal council member, a lot of our tribes at times work in silos, right? And so everybody's like, this is my funding. The HUD funding goes here. And, the tribal TANF funding might go over here. And, so we try to make an effort to help them leverage and work together in a holistic approach, right? Because we're all in it together. So
yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue because a lot of the time, with IHBG funding, like for us, for example, it's allocated for us in our program, which can cause that kind of, silo or whatever it may be. But it's nice that, it's not a one size fit, for all. You guys are able to find different ways to make it happen. So, the community establishes the need, and then we're like, but we have no idea where it should go, who should, where should the funding be leveraged or anything along those lines. So I know that's always, a huge battle because like you said, I mean, and sometimes there is a greater need, for example, of housing specifically. So, you know what I mean? They're like, well, we can't totally, allocate these funds to this, but we still want to do it. And you guys kind of bridge that gap and figure out how to make it happen, which is just so nice because I'm sure you guys are aware that with federal funds, a lot of the time it's very kind of like what's the word? Kind of just tunnel vision sort of.
Yep.
And the ability to get out of that and expand is what's really, I think really nice.
And I think Carla teaches us, and stresses us a lot. We are thought partners, right?
Oh,
We are
love
here
that.
to be a thought partner,
Yeah.
right? To, maybe they don't think of certain things and maybe they're
Right.
sharing things with us that we didn't think about either. So being that thought partner is imperative, right, to the success.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Do you guys have how about we share some other success stories and so on and so forth of maybe clubs that have used, this funding and so on?
I'll share a couple, and then Jackie, I know there might be some more that you want to share, but let's say they're providing resources for crime prevention. If you think about it, our housing authorities, right, they're serving families. Who lives in the houses but families, parents and children. And so to me, collaborating with your Boys and Girls Club is a natural fit within the community where they live, right? It becomes extended family to the youth. And so I have seen those crime prevention dollars make a huge difference by an increase in prevention programs. And I always say through collaborations, you're stronger together. And I even say to tribal nations that have an existing youth program, create a club and enhance the program, enhance together. Like collaboration makes you stronger. So I have seen through crime prevention dollars, clubs be able to increase programs because at the end of the day, we all want our youth to thrive and be successful. Because you know what? They're going to become our future leaders, Crystal.
Yes, absolutely.
So I have seen many clubs they're not getting a new facility, but they're working in partnership with their housing authority to provide prevention programs, crime prevention activities that are alternatives to juvenile delinquency. I like to be strength-based in my message always. So what I want to say is that it provides opportunities and it makes a safer community for everyone. I mean, at the end of the day, we're both serving families.
Right. And I think the key thing here is because I have been out to Indian country and I have seen, I guess suppose the damage where you don't have these kinds of resources or they just haven't gotten there yet, so it's not a matter of they can't. And a lot of it I know is capacity building and so on, but I do know it's possible because I have seen it done. It's just a matter of, finding those resources and using, people like you guys to see, hey, I see that our community needs this. Crime is, rampant within the community and we're trying to make it a safer place. What do we do next or what can we do and all of that. So no, I totally, yeah. And youth are our future. I know it sounds so corny. They're like, kids are the future of tomorrow, but it's like so true. Like you have to prepare them. They have to know what's, going on and what better way to do it than to have, a facility or the potential of a facility like the Boys and Girls Club in their community to, provide this, kind of service. So
and you know what I would add is that I've always been someone that has said youth are our future, but for our housing authorities to focus, I'm not focused, but to invest in clubs today We
Mhm.
also recognize that youth are our right now. Not only our future, they're our right now. And so
Yeah.
what we do today is going to affect the future, right? So for me, for our housing authorities to invest in their clubs, invest in the youth is powerful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I can't back that enough. Yeah.
I know, and utilizing that word invest, there's some that we've worked with that, the housing commissioners, when they're looking at, allowable, eligible activities such as, the education programs, or, they say, well, should we get these solar lights for the housing track, or is it going to be worth investing in the Boys and Girls Club for the $1,500? I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And they realize that $1,500 can make a huge impact at the Boys and Girls Club,
Yeah.
right? And so utilizing that investment. So whether it's $500 out of that budget, or whether it's 5,000, 5 million, or an ICDBG grant, 700 million, it is making a big difference. Any amount helps, and it's that communication, right? As long as they're communicating and they know, and the Boys and Girls Club are going to the housing authorities and explaining, this is what we're doing, whether they get $1, whether they don't get any money, it's that communication, is getting that information out there to them.
Absolutely. Oh, so do you have anything to add or ask or anything?
I think it's incredible what both of you do for the Boys and Girls Club. I think your dedication is amazing, and it really does go a long way. I like how you guys have communities think outside the box, and I think that's a start. It's like, how do we enhance it? I think that's a great way of putting it. Let's not tear it down. Let's make it better. How do we move forward and make it inclusive for everyone in Native communities? So I think what both of you are doing is amazing, and I love hearing about it. And I would love to do more podcasts in the future talking about more projects you guys have going on, because I just think getting it out there to everyone is very important. That everybody, like you guys said, information is key. Getting it out there is very important.
Yeah.
So love that we can do that for you guys.
I'll share one more interesting fact too, just to share the appreciation for HUD. Is years ago, right? I talked about how they were so instrumental in starting clubs in Indian country, and then we pivoted to crime prevention. We talked about drug elimination, but HUD was even when we're talking about collaboration and partnerships, like locally too, like it's so important for the housing authority to have a partnership with their youth program, their club, right? Because they're both supporting families. But HUD was instrumental in helping Boys and Girls Club of America develop its very first adapted curriculum for Native youth. Now that Native services exist, we've adapted many curriculums from but when we're thinking about crime prevention, drug elimination, it was called SMART Moves, skills, mastery, and resistance training. And it was adapted for Indian country. That was the very first curriculum, and it was with the support of HUD. So just think about how that really, like you talked about Native services and our commitment and our passion, but seeing that only one piece of curriculum that existed when Native services was established, now we have like 13 of some of the best Boys and Girls Club of America's programs adapted. And that was because that program inspired us. So another
Absolutely.
interesting fact.
Yeah. Why don't we share some of the things that you can actually do within a Boys and Girls Club? Because I think that's also going to be important information for our listeners, just to more benefits if you can.
Gosh, I could talk a lot about that. That is like, yes, because Boys and Girls Clubs, I think, for a long time, people were thinking it's a place where it's sports. It is so
Right.
much more than sports. It's character and leadership development. It is health and life skills. It's academic success. It's thinking about life skills and, life readiness and workforce development. It is so much more than just recreation. But what I will say, that it's also a place where culture is embedded in everything that they do. And that's so important, whether it's language, whether it's their indigenous foods, their traditions, their dance, but it's embedded in everything, whether we are focused on academic success, prevention, or building strong leaders for tomorrow. So this is like a huge subject of what they do and their commitment to when we think of the pandemic and what that has brought to our communities, knowing that existing trauma was there through historical trauma. But what the pandemic has brought, even clubs are becoming trauma responsive to their staff, their youth, and just the beauty of it. We just hosted our first in-person conference since 2019. We just had our 30-year celebration, and it was the largest number of participants that we had. But you can see how there's so much love and support and peer networking for clubs across the country that they're not alone. They have such a huge network and sharing best practices, lessons learned, and you can see what's happening in a club is truly making a difference.
Oh, I love that because I totally agree. I think a lot of the time, most people's perception of boys and girls clubs are recreation centers, and it's so nice to hear the other side of it. It's like, okay, yes, but we do so much more. So let's shine light on all the other things because I love recreation as well. However, I'm a big person where I want to absorb as much knowledge and provide help wherever, possible. So yeah, that's incredible. Jackie, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I would just like to add what Carla was saying about it's so much more than that, and we could go on for days, hours, days. But I think it's important for those listeners out there to know if they were establishing a club, if it was, their tribe, those 3 ways how to charter the club, is there a local autonomous organization. So you set, like what Carla was saying, healthy lifestyles, if you do tutoring programs, reintroducing indigenous, foods into your programming, you are that autonomous organization. You design your program. Sure, there are Boys and Girls Club membership requirements that you have to abide by, right, when you charter your club. But what is so worthwhile for tribes to charter is because you have that autonomy, right? You can design that program. If your, youth want to come in and you help them with their homework right when they get there, you give them a healthy snack, and then you do cultural dancing, or the girls or the boys, they're making regalia or drums, or maybe you have an elder come in and doing storytelling. You design your program to fit the need of your community. We have we do have in a lot of our communities a drug problem, right? So if they want to do, the drug prevention portion, and that's what's important to them, then that's what they do. So I think that's what's exciting, and I want to reiterate that is that they're an autonomous organization. So they design the program to meet the needs of their community.
That's amazing. Yeah, gosh, and it makes it just that much more exciting because I think it's always, I mean, for anything, it's hard to get buy-in, right? Like, okay, why do we need this? Like, what is this really going to do or provide for our community? And it's nice to hear like, oh no, well, these are all the things that you can do with it. It's almost like the sky's the limit, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like you said, like you design what fits for your community, your tribe, and so on. So, oh gosh, I love this.
Well, and
Maybe
like
this will be an episode.
Yeah, like Carla said,
Crystal?
with our culturally adapted programming, I mean, you might come in and say, like what you said, Crystal, we're already doing that. Why would we need a club? It enhances what you have. You build and you grow. You utilize that culturally adapted programming. You utilize the training that Boys and Girls Clubs of America Native Services and Boys and Girls Club, we're the national organization, provide you, and the support that you get. You would be, impressed. I would highly recommend anybody listening to go to our website, www.naclubs.org. So like Native American Clubs, naclubs.org. And there is a plethora of information about Native services and Native Boys and Girls Club in Indian Country.
And the
Absolutely.
last piece that I'll add, Jackie, because Crystal and you had me all like excited listening to you talk. But I've always said this, going back to the word that Jackie shared, it's a local autonomous club, right? They have the autonomy to design the program that meets the needs of their community. If language is a priority, if academic success is a priority, but when that magic happens where they have the autonomy to design it, guess what? Your Boys and Girls Club becomes the heartbeat of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
that.
powerful. I've
Mhm.
seen that like during the pandemic, meals, feeding youth and families. Together, we served over 1 million meals. And isn't that amazing? 1 million meals to youth and families. And it was through innovation, right? Whether it was grab and go, drop and go, or on-site feeding, like they
Right.
became, I say they're the heartbeat, because
Yeah.
when it's designed to meet the needs, they had to pivot, right? Maybe before the pandemic, they were doing workforce development, they were doing all of this, and they pivoted and met the needs of the community during the pandemic. When everything shut down, club showed up. So
Yeah. Oh,
I like that.
amazing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that.
see, you got me so passionate.
I mean, I can understand why. Just like I said, the opportunities they're there. They're, you know what I mean? You have, and then just being able to enhance programs that already exist, to take it just a step further. It's nice to hear that. It's very inspiring, I should say.
Yes.
So yeah.
Very inspiring. I can't wait to tell everyone about the Boys and Girls Club. Whenever I get done with the podcast, I'm always like, guys, guess what I learned today? Like, you have to go check out their website, tell all your friends,
And
tell
she's
everyone
not
at school.
kidding. She
No,
does
I'm not.
do that. She does. Well, did you either one of you have anything else you wanted to add, a plug or anything like that? How participants might or our listeners might be able to get in touch, or however, whatever
Or
you'd like
who
to
they can
do.
contact.
Yeah.
We do. I know Jackie does, but I just want to say that as a national organization, our tribal nations have our commitment, that we truly believe every Native youth and community deserves a Boys and Girls Club, and we will work within their structure to make their vision happen. And, so I just wanted to reinforce our commitment and love and respect for our sovereign nations. And Jackie did mention our website. You can find both of our contact information there. I would also encourage like a tribal leader to contact one of not just us, but look at behind Jackie. There's nearly 250 Native sites across the nation, and we partner with, I think we're close to 175 federally recognized tribes right now partnering with. So reach out to other tribal leaders that have clubs. Reach out that have used their housing authority money to support their club or build a new facility. Visit Bay Mills. They just built a beautiful Boys and Girls Club, but many of them have, through housing authority dollars. So that's my call of action. We're here to support in partnership. So Jackie, I know you as a director of strategic growth, you stand ready to work within their structure. What would you like to say?
I think just reiterating what you said, get on the website, naclubs.org. Look us up, how to charter a Native Boys and Girls Club. At the very bottom of the page, you can click and there is a map that looks identical to this that shows all of the Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian country, including American Samoa. And then I, along with Carla, encourage them to reach out to us. Our contact information is on there. But as well, like Carla stated, is to reach out to any one of our Native Boys and Girls Clubs because they are the voice. That network is strong. They work together. I was so impressed when we came together again this last year for our 30-year celebration and the network, and we call ourselves a family. So we're, hey, family member, hey, they're part of our family. When I go to National Congress of American Indians or Indian Gaming Association conferences to get the word out, to meet with tribal leaders and just to pass out, our collateral material and stuff, we'll see a tribal leader walk by and hey, there's part of our family. There's our family member. So I think it's that network. Reach out to any one of our clubs. They'll tell you, the great things, the not so great things, but I think just going back to that collaboration what Carla said about Boys and Girls Club in Indian Country. They're becoming the hub of their community. And I think those silos that we talked about at the beginning are going away. They're realizing now, because, I hate to say that because of COVID, like Carla mentioned, is that they are the hub. Why is Indian Health Clinic going to do a diabetes prevention when the families have to go over there on Wednesday, and then maybe housing is doing a crime prevention or drug prevention activity, and they have to go over there? Where are the youth? They're at the Boys and Girls Club. So why not collaborate together and do it together? And I think that's only, like, I can't stress that enough, strengthening Indian Country today is that collaboration.
Absolutely. Oh man, this is good.
We could talk all day. Give me some more coffee.
I'll just do one
great.
other shout out, Crystal,
Sure.
like Lumbee Boys and Girls Club in North Carolina. They have 8 sites. Every single one of their sites is in a housing authority building. I mean, that's just a great example of, a club they could reach out to and how that partnership works. Because I think tribal nations want to hear it from tribal leader to tribal leader.
Absolutely.
But so hear how it's working for them. So I encourage not only reach out to us national to help, but, reach out to your other tribal nations. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's always an asset that we kind of forget because, we're busy doing what we're doing, right? And so to hear, oh, I didn't realize that they had, 4 clubs or 2 clubs or whatever it may be. And, oh, okay, yeah, it's at their housing authority. Wait, if they have it at their housing authority, I can do it at my housing authority.
That's right.
So yeah, then you're like, oh, okay, the wheels start turning, and we ultimately help Indian Country as a whole, like, be better because you're just sharing a bunch of knowledge, and it's all kind of like bing, 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 going everywhere. So that's
See,
great.
Crystal, what you said, that's exactly what happened with the Seminole Tribe of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Is they thought, hey, they did it in their housing authority.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it. So they chartered their Boys and Girls Club. The Seminole Nation of Oklahoma chartered underneath their housing authority. So, it's just that communication and that knowledge and doing podcasts such as with you ladies today just helps get that word out.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. So I'm glad y'all were able to join us and talk about it. And I'm foreseeing in the future with AWISTA more episodes. I can sense it. So, but yeah, no, thank you both so much. This was very informative and exciting. I think it's a great opportunity for Indian Country, housing authorities, TDHUs, all of it. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the partnership and helping us to elevate Boys and Girls Clubs in Indian Country and the impact that they're making, but most importantly, how we can work together in partnership. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. And if the Native Learning Center can do anything for you, please let us know. We are here to help as well. So if you would ever like to do a webinar, we can also schedule that as well.
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. We haven't done one in a while, so I think it's definitely time to do one, Carla and Jackie. So, all right.
That's great. All right.
We'd be honored. And thank you, like Carla said, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, AWISTA, close us out.
Yes, we'll leave it on a cliffhanger. We won't tell you what the webinar will be about, but just know there will be a webinar in the future. Thank you so much for joining us today again. It looks like this episode is coming to an end. Truly appreciate having Jackie Van Huss and Carla Knapp on today. Truly incredible people. Thank you so much for all that you do. Don't forget to check out and leave us a comment in the chat below. Let us know how we did, what you liked, your opinions on today's topic. And don't forget to check us out on Apple Podcast and on our website, www.nativelearningcenter.com. Thank you so much, everyone.